Well, Georgia is the consensus number one team in the country now. This news just breaking now that the coaches poll has come out after Georgia's devastating win over South Carolina. Alabama had a pretty big win yesterday too, but it was not enough to hold Georgia off from the coaches poll. The Dogs were already the number one team in the country on the Associated Press side of things, the media side. So that was uh, 1,561 votes to Alabama's 1,496. Georgia had 53 first place votes and 9 from Alabama. In the coaches poll this week, the Dogs and Tide essentially flip flop places. Alabama had 1,592 over Georgia's 1,574. The important part here are the first place votes. In that case, Alabama had 39 and Georgia had 25. This week, we see Georgia with 40 and Alabama with 24. Georgia's only got a 14-point lead, on Alabama. So it's not decisive here. I'm just kind of looking at this for the first time. I see where Clemson has gotten knocked down to number 5 in the coaches poll. I think so. We've got a top 5 now, or top 4 or top 5, depending on where the AP comes up with this week. I mean, Oklahoma could jump Clemson. I don't know about. I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure about that. But in the coaches poll, we've got a top 5 now of Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, Michigan, then Clemson, and then it goes Oklahoma SC, Oklahoma State, Kentucky, and Arkansas. Arkansas actually moved up, I guess, because they won. Tennessee is going to be in the top 10 soon. So NC State might as well. NC State does not look bad, but there's a lot of not great football being played out there right now. Michigan State was just a debacle. BYU getting throttled by Oregon, who is now back in the top 25 or top 20. Texas A&M moving up. The bottom of the poll, no one was quite brave enough to put Appalachian State into the poll in a big way, but they are actually at number 27. So that means they're getting some lowercase votes, for lack of a better term. Florida is still ranked. I don't know why. I mean, because if you watch that South Florida game, I mean, this is not to rag on people. That's not the point of our, dog posts and of me and everybody who's on here. We call it like we see it. And if I watched, I would say I watched, I would say I watched 50 minutes of the Clemson game. I watched probably 35 of the Gators. It's just not there for Florida right now. The quarterback is unsteady. There's a lot wrong with Florida right now. They are fortunate to have a win, period. So they certainly could be 0-3, and to have them ranked in the top 22, I don't know. But for Georgia, this is a situation where, and I've written about this a lot, and the question's kind of coming around. Are we watching something that we don't yet know is going to be a final thing? What I mean by that is, when you watch Georgia, are you watching a team that is not just the number one team in the country, but a team that's part of a program that is ascending to the top spot? I don't think Alabama is ascending. It's hard to ascend when you've been number one for such a long time. I don't know. I mean, Ohio State is kind of where they're at. Michigan seems to be getting better. Georgia certainly seems to be getting better as a program. Clemson seems to be going backwards, I have to tell you, although perhaps not in a major way. Oklahoma and USC, I'm still going to wait and see what happens, but they both are scoring points. Kentucky and Arkansas, those two schools are getting where you want to go, and now we're seeing Tennessee and NC State, who both have had long stretches of not doing much in league play, winning. Tennessee can't come in and lose this game this week to the Gators. I mean, that would totally go backwards on everything that they would like to do in their program. And the fact of the matter is that either you get it done or you don't. And Tennessee's not been getting it done against the Gators lately. Sometimes with teams that are better than Florida, but I don't know. It's going to be a big weekend in Knoxville. Make sure you're picking up DAWGSTRUCTION. We were talking about, today, this Georgia season is going to matter a lot in terms of if there's anything close to, you know, being the number one program in the country. You can't get that in September. You're just not going to get that in September. You have to win national championships. You have to do what we see in DAWGSTRUCTION. We have to, you have to see, you know, um, national championships are not won in September. You can lose them into September. Texas A&M, who Desmond Howard somehow picked to win the national championship, I think, or play in it or whatever, um, they have lost it. They will not win the national championship this year. Newsflash. But this is the time of year where it's go time. Now for Georgia, unfortunately for Georgia fans, uh, this thing scales back a little bit for the Dogs this week. I mean, you've got a home game against Kent State, who played Oklahoma pretty tight. And also, scored on Washington. I got to watch some of them against Washington. They were 7-3 at the half against OU, and 45-20 against UW. That's not the end of the world, right? I think it's just another opportunity for Georgia to kind of get the job done in more ways than one, and just show people. But the problem is the game's not going to be broadcast on. I mean, it's going to be on SEC Plus, so that's not ideal. But this coming week, Clemson, Wake Forest. I mean, neither of those teams looked good this past week. I mean, Wake Forest nearly lost. Clemson was goofing around way too much with Louisiana Tech. It's possible that neither of those two teams is the best team in that division. It is possible. I'm not saying it's going to be likely. And then you've got. Let's just go down real quick here. Notre Dame at North Carolina. That's a curious game. The big game nationally is probably Florida Tennessee. That is as fun a rivalry as you get in this league, and both of them are now looking up at the Dogs, so that's kind of bizarre. I wonder what Cincinnati's going to do to Indiana. That will tell me a little bit. I mean, because Cincinnati is still doing okay. They're not going to play in the playoff this year, but I watched them, man. That's a tough team. They are mentally tough. They are physically tough. And then at night, not great in terms of ranked matchups, but Wisconsin, Ohio State, that will draw huge numbers just because of Ohio State being in prime time. They can piggyback off of last week's game with Fox. Fox is going to have Kansas State against Oklahoma. Not great. So you do have an opportunity if you are Texas A&M, Arkansas, Florida, Tennessee, to kind of steal the biggest weekend ratings. But I would imagine it's going to be Florida and Tennessee, maybe about 4.5, 5 million people watching it. Alabama's playing at home against Vanderbilt. This Georgia team, can get the job done quick. We're going to see what happens with this Missouri time. I am scared to death it's going to be at night. For my personal reasons, not for y'all. I have like a 5 o'clock flight the next day out of either St. Louis or Kansas City, one of the two. So I'm scared to death that it's going to be that, or it's going to be a noon game. I do not see this game getting stuck. I mean, Georgia's going to be the number one team in the country. That is going to be on a major, that's going to matter in some way. So this Georgia team is a juggernaut. People want to watch them play, and we all should wonder, what are we watching here? What are we watching? What are we watching with Georgia? What are we watching with Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, to some degree, Oklahoma, Michigan? What are we watching with these teams? We know a fair amount about Georgia right now, I think. I mean, we just do. I don't know if we know a lot about Michigan, okay? Ohio State, we know a little bit. They are better. They're tougher in terms of defensively. We got a little bit of ways to go with Alabama still. Like I was talking with someone earlier today who's been around the block for a while, and they were saying, that just the Alabama receivers are not what they expected coming into this season. So I don't know. Georgia has earned this for now, and we'll see how the season progresses. They are steady as water flow, and until somebody dams them up, they're just not going to be stopped. There are too many problems on that field. The weaponry is insane, and Stetson Bennett knows how to use it. We'll see you later in the week.